What if the rules you've been living by were never written with your happiness in mind? Today, we're pulling apart those old rules about career, relationships, beauty, ambition, and rewriting them so they finally reflect who you are now. This is about reclaiming authorship over your life story, because the truth is, the rules you've been following may have served someone else, but they were never written to honor you. Welcome to How to Lose the Weight, the podcast for women ready to stop waiting for someday and live life now. I'm your host, Holly Toscanini, and I'm here to help you break free from perfectionism, self-doubt, and the someday mindset. Together, we'll dive into real conversations about self-trust, empowerment, and living authentically. If you're ready to reconnect with your intuition and step into your power, you're in the right place. Let's lose the weight and start living fully right now. Hello and welcome to How to Lose the Weight. I'm your host, Holly Toscanini. Let me ask you something. How many of the rules you're living by right now did you actually choose for yourself? I'm talking about the invisible shoulds that sneak into every corner of your life. You should look a certain way. You should work harder, be more productive, aim higher. You should want the house, the car, the relationship, the title, the perfect body. You should put everybody else first. In fact, many of these rules were written decades ago, sometimes in our childhood, sometimes in our 20s when we were trying to prove ourselves. Yet here we are in midlife, still letting outdated scripts run the show. Here's the truth I want you to hear today. Those rules aren't law. They're just beliefs dressed up in authority. And you, right now, have the power to rewrite them. See, this episode is all about tearing up the old rule book, the one written by society and diet culture and outdated expectations, and writing one that finally matches who you are right now. Because, darling, you've changed, you've grown, and the life you want today deserves rules that actually honor that. So, if you've ever thought, is this it? Why does this life I worked so hard for still not feel like mine? Stay with me. We're going to unpack how to spot the old rules, decide which ones no longer serve you, and create new ones that reflect the woman you're becoming. And if this resonates, I want you to join me for the Midlife Reinvention Blueprint Masterclass on September 6, 2025 at 10 a.m. Pacific. It's powerful, it's free, and it will help you start mapping out your next chapter with confidence, without conditions. Head to the show notes to register today. See, we've been taught to believe that this invisible rule book was a law. And it sounded like, be nice, don't make a scene, say thank you, don't interrupt, and my personal favorite, is that really what you're going to wear? When we were 8 years old, those lines were about being polite. By 48, they've turned into a quiet, relentless script about, well, quite frankly, being palatable. See, the first layer of this script is about approval equaling safety. Be the good girl and you'll be praised, included, chosen. If you step out of line, ask for more, or take up space, or even, God forbid, say no, and you will risk the disapproval or distance. So we learn to be agreeable. We learn to anticipate everybody else's needs and be endlessly available. It wasn't malicious. It was just survival. And then the second layer is body management. See, diet culture showed up early and, well, has never left the party. Not really. The message was clear. Your body is a project that will never be completed. Smaller is always better. And aging, well, it's a problem you've got to solve or try to hide. If you don't look disciplined, your character is suspect. And you've seen this play out at work events, holiday dinners, even medical appointments. The same body is praised or criticized depending on some arbitrary number on a scale. And because women are judged so heavily on appearance, those messages dug deep. Now, I mentioned in a previous episode that a major beauty report found an overwhelming majority of women opt out of meaningful activities because they don't feel good enough in their body. So they're not really going out and living their lives or enjoying the people around them, creating memories and experiences. That's not vanity. That's social conditioning doing its job. Now, the third layer in here is role inflation. And this really means that as our life begins to unfold, this rule book sort of expands. You're told to be the present mother, the stellar partner, the reliable daughter to aging parents, the high-performing professional, the emotionally available friend, maybe even the community volunteer. And you're expected to keep the house, the calendar, and that group text running like a Swiss watch. You're now the CEO of everything with no PTO, right? So here's the part we rarely say out loud. Even when you pass that test, you get the degree, you land the job, you keep the family afloat, you hit that number on the scale, the feeling of enough doesn't show up. The bar is always sliding, and the rules update themselves like a phone operating system you didn't ask to install. There are new bug fixes, new security patches, and new ways to feel, well, like you're behind. And that's where identity fatigue creeps in. Now, if you listen to episode 79, you'll remember I defined identity fatigue as that soul-level exhaustion that comes from performing outdated roles long past their expiration date. Maybe you're the competent one who never cracks, or the fixer who anticipates everybody's needs before they speak, or the steady person who's that employee who says yes because it's just a busy season, which somehow lasts for 6 years or so. Or maybe you're the good girl who smooths out every edge, even when it costs you your sleep, your joy, and your self-respect. See, identity fatigue is sneaky. It doesn't just show up with sirens. It shows up as this sort of low-grade resentment at people you love, a calendar that makes you sigh every Sunday night, or even a closet full of clothes that don't feel like you anymore, or a brain that narrates every decision with, "What will they think?" It's the moment you catch your reflection and think, where did I go? So let's map out how this plays across the 4 arenas where women in midlife tell me they feel the tightest rules. First has got to be career. The inherited rule here is stay grateful, stay loyal, and don't be too ambitious, which translates to be indispensable but not visible. Always over-deliver without negotiating. Mentor generously but don't outshine. In midlife, that rule often clashes with reality. You've got experience, instincts, and ideas that deserve the daylight. The quiet conflict is brutal. I mean, you want to lead, but the rulebook tells you that leadership makes you somehow intimidating. So you edit yourself in meetings, you soften your strong points, and you say we when you mean I, and then you go home wondering why you feel invisible. Now, the next way this plays out is in our relationships. Now, the inherited rule here is you got to keep the peace, you got to be accommodating, and you can't be too needy. In practice, that means apologizing for having normal needs. I mean, if you ever catch yourself always saying, sorry to bother you, but that's you. Or you overfunction during conflict. And you mistake self-abandonment for kindness. In midlife, you start noticing the bill. Conversations where you swallow words, dinners you attend out of obligation, or boundaries you never set because someone might get, uncomfortable. See, keeping the peace at the expense of your own nervous system isn't really peace. It's quiet resentment with really good manners. Now, the third layer has got to be beauty. The inherited rule here is youth equals worth. You're expected to age gracefully, but don't ever let anybody see you age. There's always a product, a procedure, or a plan promising some sort of redemption against aging. And the unspoken math here is cruel because fewer wrinkles equal more credibility. And in midlife, that rule collides with biology, and it can really trigger some shame spikes that have absolutely nothing to do with health and everything to do with being visible. You start passing on photos or beach trips and opportunities because, a camera might be involved. And that's not a personal failure. That's just an old rule punishing you for being alive. And the fourth layer is ambition. Now, the inherited rule here is be driven, but not too much. Want more, but not so much that it threatens anybody. You can feel how ridiculous that is, and yet those double binds work. You stall out, not because you lack vision, but because you're managing optics. And in midlife, a louder truth begins to emerge. Your ambition isn't a menace, it's a compass, and it points to contribution, creativity, and legacy, things the rulebook never considered. And when you put all of these layers together, the outcome is pretty predictable. You've got self-doubt playing in your head on a loop, not because you haven't achieved enough, but because the measuring sticks, they're rigged. They live outside of you, so even when you hit them, you never really feel it on the inside. But here's the reframe that begins to I don't know, loosen that sort of armor you've been wearing. You didn't write those rules. You learned them, you practiced them, and you perfected them. And now, because you're older and wiser and much more attuned, you get to revise them. Not to burn your life down, but to build a life that finally fits the woman you are right now. So if you've been hearing that quiet, persistent whisper that says, this can't be all there is, you're not ungrateful. You're awake. And that whisper is not trouble. It's guidance. It's the part of you that still remembers who you were before the rule book got so loud, and she is asking for the pen back. So let's start by naming these rules, because you can't rewrite what you don't even realize you're still following. So think about how many invisible shoulds are living rent-free in your head. Things like, I should want to climb the career ladder, or I should keep the peace even if I'm really unhappy in this relationship, or I should look 10 years younger, weigh 20 pounds less, and basically Photoshop myself in real life. I mean, who wrote these rules? Spoiler alert, it was not you. Most of them were drafted before you even had a say in the matter. I mean, family expectations, cultural norms, religious teachings, and yes, the ever-present patriarchy all colluded to write your early script. You were cast as the good girl, the caretaker, the ambitious high achiever, or the ever-pleasing partner. And once you got that role, you stuck with it because, quite frankly, your survival often depended on it. But here's the thing. What served us at 20 or 30 might become a straitjacket at 50. The rules we once followed to belong, to be loved, to be good enough, they start to feel heavy, and they just don't match who we are now or who we want to be in the future. There was a study from the University of Michigan that found that women in midlife often experience what's called role conflict, which is the gap between what they're doing and what they actually want to be doing. And this isn't just psychological frustration. It's a driver of depression, burnout, and even physical health issues. Living by outdated rules isn't harmless. It's actually pretty corrosive. So here's your reflection moment. If you've got a piece of paper handy, or if you're a journaler like I am, or just think about it if you don't have any paper, I want you to think about, what are the top 3 rules you're still obeying without questioning? I mean, think about it. Maybe it's always put others first. Maybe it's don't rock the boat. Or maybe it's stay so small that you don't take up too much space. Don't be seen. And then I want you to ask yourself, do these rules actually belong to me? Or did I inherit them like a box of clothes that don't even fit me anymore? You don't have to burn the whole rule book today, but awareness is the first step. Once you can name the rules, you can start to challenge them. And here's a little bit of humor, because if we don't laugh, we'll cry. Imagine if the rules of womanhood came with a manual. It would be, the size of the Oxford English Dictionary. It would constantly be updated without notice, and half the pages would contradict the other half. They would say things like, be sexy, but not too sexy. Be ambitious, but don't be threatening. Speak up, but don't be too loud. Age gracefully, but don't really age. Exhausting, right? Naming these rules isn't about realizing you didn't sign up for them in the first place, and you sure as hell don't need to keep following them now. So now that we've named just a few of these rules, let's talk just a little bit about why they're not working for you anymore. First, life changes. You change. That rule about proving yourself at work by grinding until midnight, maybe it fit when you were just starting out, but at 50, your values might have shifted toward freedom, meaning, or finally having time to, write that book you've been dreaming about. Second, the rules contradict each other. That's the dirty little secret. Society tells women you can have it all, but what they really mean is you can do it all while looking amazing, never aging, and never complaining. It's impossible. These rules are literally unwinnable. Third, and this one's important, following outdated rules disconnects you from your intuition. When you're living by other people's scripts, your inner voice gets drowned out. You end up asking, what will they think, instead of, what do I need? I'll give you an example. A client once told me she felt guilty for wanting to leave her high-paying corporate job to pursue a creative business. Why did she feel guilty? Well, because the rule book said success equals money plus title plus stability. But her intuition was screaming for freedom and fulfillment. She wasn't failing. The rule book was failing her. You You see, research backs this up too. Brene Brown's work on shame resilience shows that living by other people's expectations is really a direct path to shame because you're constantly performing for approval instead of belonging to yourself. So, why don't the old rules work? Because they were never designed to honor you, they were designed to control you. And in midlife, that's when you start realizing, well, the emperor has no clothes. Ask yourself this: what rules feel heavier than they used to? I mean, maybe some of them have gotten so heavy you can't take it anymore. And maybe there are some that are still in the background that you don't even realize are running the show. Which ones don't make sense for the woman you are now or the woman you want to become? See, this is the fun part, rewriting the rules. And here is the process I guide my clients through, and you can start practicing it right now. There's 4 steps. First, identify the rule. Maybe your rule is, I must always be productive. The second part is to ask who wrote that rule. Was it your parents, your boss, society? Because I guarantee you it was not your soul. The third step, decide if it's still true. Does being productive 24/7 really bring you joy, or does it bring some resentment? Number 4, write your version. So instead of saying, I must always be productive, try, I honor rest as much as action. Think of it like updating your operating system. Your old software is glitchy. It's time for an upgrade that actually supports how you want to live. You see, your rules don't need to make sense to anybody but you. Your life, your rules, period. I'll give you a personal rewrite I've done. My old rule was, don't rock the boat. My rewrite, if that boat is sinking, rock it, flip it, or get the hell out. And that shift gave me permission to speak up in situations where silence used to cost me my peace. And here's another old rule. A good woman sacrifices. The rewrite might be, a whole woman honors her needs first, then chooses where to give her time, attention, and energy. See, this is where your intuition becomes your editor. You know when a new rule resonates because it feels like relief, not resistance. And that moment in your body, that's your green light. Now, here's a little pro tip. Write your new rules down and put them somewhere visible, someplace you can see them. One of my clients taped hers to the bathroom mirror so she would see it every morning. And over time, she felt like those new rules were actually becoming her default programming. All right, so we've named the old rules. We've retired the ones that don't fit and written new ones that feel like home. So now what? Well, living the rewrite means practicing them daily, even when it feels a little uncomfortable. Because let's be real, the world is going to keep trying to enforce that old script. People might resist your changes. Some may not like your new boundaries. That's normal. But every time you honor your new rules, you reinforce trust in yourself. You show your nervous system, I've got my own back. And that's how confidence is built, by practicing self-trust, one honoring choice at a time. Here is how to start living the rewrite. First, try some micro actions. You don't need to overhaul your whole life in a night. Pick one small action that really aligns with whatever new rule you want to practice and practice it. Next is got to be community. Surround yourself with people who cheer for your rewrite, not the ones who are clinging to that old script you've been following. And third, accountability. Speak your new rule out loud. Tell a friend, a coach, or write it publicly. The more you own it, the more real it becomes. See, living that rewrite is about freedom. It's about stepping into the life that reflects who you are now, not who you were at 25, not who society told you to be, but the wise, intuitive, powerful woman you are today. And if you're ready to put this into practice with a little guidance, I hope you'll join me for the masterclass, the Midlife Reinvention Blueprint. I'm going to show you how to build confidence without conditions and how to map your next chapter right now. Join me on Saturday, September 6, 2025 at 10 a.m. Pacific. This isn't about waiting for permission. It's about writing the rules that finally honor you and having the courage to live by them. So here's the question I want to leave you with. If you were free to write the rules from scratch, what would they say? Because you are free. You always have been. The rules that have kept you small were never set in stone. They were just put upon you. And now it's time to give them back. So I hope you'll join me for the Midlife Reinvention Blueprint Masterclass on Saturday, September 6th at 10 a.m. Pacific. It's your chance to map your next chapter, to build confidence without conditions, and step into the life you actually want, one that reflects who you are right now. I'm going to put the registration link in the show notes. So head on over to the show notes and check the registration link. It's going to be happening again September 6th at 10 a.m. Pacific. It's going to be a live masterclass. There will be replay, so go ahead and register. So if you can't make it live, you can always get the replay. Don't wait any longer. The old rules, they're already expiring. Write your own instead. So, like I said, head to the show notes page to register for the Midlife Reinvention Blueprint, my free masterclass to help you start building confidence and map your next chapter now. Until next time, bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to How to Lose the Weight. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a conversation. And if you found value in this episode, I'd love it if you could leave a review. It really helps the show reach more women like you who are ready to step into their power. For more insights and inspiration, follow me on Instagram at Holly Toscanini or visit hollytoscanini.com. Until next time, remember, stop waiting and start living.